So today we're going to be talking about 16 detailing tips that you need to know before you start your next detail. And with that being said, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and let's get started. Now the first tip that I have for you guys is to use the power of steam. Steam cleaning tools are very, very powerful because one, they're not chemical based, and two, they can get a lot of things out off of many surfaces, from the outside paint to your carpet to getting gum, Play-Doh, anything, food. Pretty much everything that you can imagine. Steam is a great tool to use, especially for stubborn stuff that you struggle to remove. Now there's a lot of different types of steam cleaners out there. I use a specific one called from Wagner, and I have it linked in the description box below for you guys. But one of the things that I struggle with sometimes is detailing brushes do help with getting into those nooks and crannies, but if you have things that have solidified, or if you have things that are farther down that your brush can't technically reach, steam is a great tool to spray into all those different seams to help blow out that dirt, to help remove any liquid that is solidified or dirt that gets stuck in there. Pretty much any use you can use it. I've used it on carpet, you can use it on plastic, you can actually even use it on paint. There's actually specific steam cleaners that people can use on just outside surfaces alone. Instead of actually washing a car in typical fashion, you can use steam instead for a waterless type solution. But in these video clips you see here, these are from some of the nastiest details I've done and some of the different things that I've removed just by using steam and brushes and tools. And another great benefit to steam is obviously the fact that the temperature is so high that any mold or bacteria or viruses and things like that get killed instantly, and it also helps with deodorizing as well. Now, if you've watched my videos in the past, you know that I remove a lot of the interior and most of the cars that I detail, and a lot of the times you find things like this underneath the center consoles, underneath the seats, underneath door panels and trim pieces. There's a lot of different things that you can remove inside of a vehicle, and with a lot of modern cars, they go together in very similar fashions. There's usually, an 8mm, 10mm, or Phillips head screws, or just clips like these side panels come in and out of this King Ranch that I detailed. They literally just pop off, remove, you can clean them, and then just, hit them back in and they go right back together. So for this tip, it's just don't be scared to, disassemble things, take things apart, because when car manufacturers build these cars, they have to put them together fairly easily, obviously, because the assembly line has to put them together in a very fast process. So when you think about that, go online, look up a YouTube tutorial on how to remove your seats or how to remove your center console. Look up different, forums. They'll have diagrams on how to do it, or people post, step-by-step instructions. They all go together fairly easily. Take your time if you've never done it, or like I said, look it up online so that way you have a better idea how to do it without having to guess and figure it out on your own. Now for detailing tip number 3, it's to clean around your door frames, your door sills, underneath your hood, your trunk lid, and gas cap cover. These are all commonly missed areas that just get missed, especially if you're washing your car yourself. Make sure you check those spots. You can get leaves spilled up inside, the trunk lid area underneath there, where there's drain tubes so water doesn't drain properly, so you can have leaks and stuff inside your car. Underneath your doors, you can get rust underneath there because you just get dirt and grime and oil, and it breaks down the paint over time. And then underneath your hood, just wiping it with a microfiber towel or all-purpose cleaner is just a good maintenance practice, especially if you work on your own car. It's always nice to have a clean workspace that you're working on. Now for detailing tip number 4, it's to use a drill brush, and it's a tool that I highly recommend everyone has in their detailing arsenal, whether you don't clean your car on a regular basis or if you want to use it inside your house. Drill brushes are a fast way to expedite the process of having to hand scrub things and then wearing yourself out if you're trying to clean your own car. But for me personally, drill brushes are a staple in my detailing tool collection, whether it comes to carpets, seats, door panels that are plastic. It just allows you to have the ability to speed up the process without wearing yourself down, especially when you're doing a longer detail that is extremely dirty. You can use a drill brush to help you out instead of having to hand scrub things, which you're never going to be able to replicate how much rotation a drill brush provides when you use it in your drill. Detailing tip number 5 is to restore your plastic trim. Over time, what happens with plastic black trim or gray trim, any color trim for that matter that goes around the headlights, door handles, front and rear bumpers, mirrors, is that plastic gets faded and it loses its shine and it loses the original color. So getting a trim restore kit, whether it's a single product that you just wipe on that lasts a little while or a more extensive ceramic type product, definitely consider restoring your trim because it will make your car or truck look 10 times better and make it look like new again. Detailing tip number 6 is to clean and condition your leather seats. And now this tip might seem fairly generic and simple and fairly straightforward as a process that you should do in your detail, but I think when it comes to the conditioning aspect, I think it gets missed on a regular basis because of how durable leather seats are compared to fabric seats and stain resistance. But the main reason for cleaning your leather seats is to get into all those nooks and crannies, making sure you get into all those different seams to remove any dirt. And then the conditioning side is to help keep those seats pliable, to restore their shine or original color, and to also resist cracking and add a barrier essentially from future staining from any spills or anything that happens with the car. So for my process, I always just use a detailing brush to get into all those different spots, or a drill brush for heavily dirty ones to make sure they're fully clean. Wipe them clean with a microfiber towel, and then apply my leather conditioner, let it dry, and then buff it essentially clean to make sure there's no additional residue on the surface. This process is what I've used every single time, and as you can see, this is one of my favorite types of seats from the King Ranch and the Ford F350 or F250. It just looks so much better and it makes your car look like new. Detailing tip number 7 is to clean your seatbelts. This is something that commonly gets missed as well, and it's something that you can clean fairly quickly with all-purpose cleaner. Spray it onto your seatbelts. Use a brush, drill brush for that matter, would be an excellent tool to use. Then just wiping it clean with a microfiber towel. If you want to take it a step further, or if you have heavily dirty spots, steam cleaners work great as well. Most cars don't have overly dirty seatbelts, so just light staining and light cleaning with a all-purpose cleaner will be sufficient. In this case, for this car that I'm working on here, I was able to remove them, which made it a lot easier. But because of how dirty they were, there was really no other way to get them as clean as I wanted if I didn't remove them. So for me personally, cleaning your seatbelts is a tedious task, but it does take it to the extra step, especially if you do get staining on it from spilled coffee. Detailing tip number 8 is to consider what is hiding underneath, and this is in regards to your front and rear seats. Those spots are hard to clean because one, you can never fully reach underneath there, especially between your center console and the seat. That's like the no man's zone. Things just fall there and get lost forever. So whenever I pull out seats inside the vehicles that I work on, it one, helps me with mobility inside the vehicle, but two, it allows me to make sure I get every single nook and cranny, every single piece of dirt removed. As you guys can see in these shots here, how dirty it was underneath these seats, and you would have never got those areas clean. So for me personally, I pull the seats in my details, and for you, I wouldn't think that this is something you do on a regular basis, but if you buy a car that is used but new to you, it is something consider doing right off the bat to make sure it's perfectly clean all the way inside and out. Detailing tip number 9 is to clean the most used component of your vehicle, and this goes to your key or key fob. Whether you have to break it down or take it apart like I'm showing in this video clip, or just wiping it down on a regular basis from a sanitation standpoint, cleaning your key and key fob is just something that you should commonly do on a monthly basis, or whenever you wash your car. Just grab a microfiber towel with all-purpose cleaner, spray it on the towel, and then just wipe it clean. If you have to go to more extremes, taking apart a key fob is fairly straightforward. Take your time, or if you feel not something that you can't do, look up an online tutorial, but keeping this component clean is just something that I recommend as a common practice. Detailing tip number 10 is to clean inside your spare tire well underneath your trunk lid. This area gets commonly missed as well because one, how often do you pull out your spare tire? But two, it can collect a ton of dirt or debris, or for this case, for this Bentley GT that I detailed, when I opened up the trunk lid itself, the drain tubes were clogged from not properly being cleaned and maintained, and it dumped about half a gallon of water underneath there, and that was just from me working on the car, whereas when I pulled up the trunk cover, it was honestly full of about 2-3 gallons of water as it was. So once I pulled up all these trim pieces, pulled them all up and looked underneath, I was able to wipe that area clean so it doesn't continue to rust further. But two, this is also a good opportunity to check your spare tire. Make sure it has adequate air. Make sure all your tools are present if you need to remove a tire. This is something that will help in the long run whenever something does happen on the side of the road and you need to put your spare tire on. It would stink if your spare tire is completely flat and now you have 2 flat tires instead of just 1. Detailing tip number 11 is to clean in between the seams, and this goes for your seats of your car. Where all those cushions meet, those different seam areas typically collect all of the dirt, and when you spread them apart, that's when you can vacuum that out and remove it before you condition or extract your seats, so all that dirt doesn't get then pushed around to the rest of the seat surface itself. So vacuuming in between those seams and in between the top and rear portions of the seats. Take your crevice tool and just kind of push it in between there to make sure any crumbs don't then fall back onto the carpet after you've got that cleaned as well. Detailing tip number 12 is to polish your exhaust tips and chrome components around your vehicle. The stuff that I use is from Mother's. It's a polishing compound, and you just put it on your microfiber towel, spread it onto the component, and then just essentially buff it. And there's different processes and steps on how to do this, but it is something that kind of is above and beyond what you typically would do with a detail, and it just helps make your car look like new again. And it's a fairly easy process to do. It just takes a little bit of time and elbow grease to get those components cleaned. Detailing tip number 13 is to be conscious of overspray, and this goes for the exterior or the inside of your vehicle. If you're spraying a chemical onto your wheels, or if you're spraying an all-purpose cleaner on your dashboard, be conscious of fans going on, wind, anything like that, because you don't want to spray on a component and have that blast onto everything else if you've just cleaned it, or a chemical that you don't want on a certain surface. So be conscious of the wind, be conscious of where you're spraying and how you're spraying. Use a piece of cardboard in this instance for the wheels that I'm using to help protect the paint from getting any of that overspray. Detailing tip number 14 is to use a pet hairbrush or some sort of dedicated tool for this matter. For me personally, I have my own set of detailing products from foxclean.com where I carry the Foxtail pet detailing brush. I found this to be the most useful tool when it comes to removing pet hair because of how wide it is and the ergonomics of the tool itself. But using a pet hair tool in general, or even if you're using it on a non-pet hair vehicle, you'll be surprised with how many loose fibers on the carpet or the seat backings you'll remove from the vehicle. You can see from these shots how much hair removed from inside these vehicles, and just how bad the carpets were before compared to after, before using a tool. And all of these carpets that you see in these shots were after vacuuming was done, and then I used the pet hair brushes to remove the actual loose fibers and pet hair that was inside the vehicle. Detailing tip number 15 is to know your worth. And this is for the person that's trying to detail as a side hustle, whether you have a full-time job or full-time business detailing, is to figure out what your time is worth, figure out what your chemicals and products are worth, what that you use in a specific detail, and then also figure out what your skills are worth. Look at people in your zip code that are detailing, figure out their pricing, and then, be competitive, but also know that if, you do a better job than everyone out there, and if your skills are worth it in your opinion, charge that and then adjust it from there. Go after customers, see what their responses to your prices, and then build your way from there to figuring out where is that sweet spot for you personally based on the types of cars you detail. Detailing tip number 16 is to follow a routine or process and stick with it. And this goes for if you're just cleaning your own personal vehicle on a monthly or weekly basis, or if you're doing this for a living, is there's a process that you're going to want to follow, because what that allows you to do is when you go into a detail, you know what you're going to do, you know what process you're going to follow, you know what steps are involved, so that way you're being as time efficient as possible. And even if you're not doing this as a living, when you have time to wash your car, you don't want to be fumbling around trying to figure out, oh yeah, I need to do this or that, or oh, I forgot to do this. If you know that you start with, washing your wheels, and then you go to washing the paint, and then you go to the inside with vacuuming, or if you're knowing, hey, it's Friday and I take my car to the car wash and I wash it by hand and I vacuum out the car, having some sort of process or routine that you do on your details or to keep your car clean will help you in the long run with making sure that you maintain your car as best as possible, or detailing a car for a client. So with that being said, this is the final tip that I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and go ahead and leave a comment down below on a detailing tip that you guys want to share. I want to make this a community, and I always love seeing your guys' comments, and it helps everybody else out that watches these videos to see your tips and suggestions as well. And I also want to let you guys know that tomorrow I'm going to have a bonus video for you guys on how to remove odors from cars. So make sure you're looking out for that video tomorrow morning. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys next week.